Hello, my name's Richard and I am the director of Beyond Marathon and of course the race director of the Millennium Way Back Ultra, which takes place for the first time in 2017. We have of course ran the Millennium Way event several times, I think 4 now, and this time we are going to be tackling it in the opposite direction to the usual one. So let me take you through a little bit about the course and also about the event itself. So you should all have already received this book, which is the Millennium Way Back Ultramarathon Guide. It contains lots of useful information and you need to read it all, and indeed you need to print out some of it and bring it with you. So let's just step through a little bit, not all of it because you can read it yourself. So it's 41 miles in 12 hours and this year takes place on April 15th, which is a Saturday, not a Sunday. Just bear that in mind because our usual Millennium Way takes place on a Sunday. This does not. This is a Saturday. You'll find all the events in the UK, not just ours, everyone's on the UK Ultramarathon calendar, which is ultramarathon.co.uk. That's a very useful site. Inside this guide you're going to find everything you need to know to do with parking your car, finding the location, a suggested kit list, a little bit about race timing. This year we're testing a new electronic timing, finish line timing system, and in this case you're going to be having a regular race number, and you're probably going to have an RFID tag, which is a little plastic tag which is worn on your wrist. That has to be given back to us at the end of the event. The schedule's here, so we're turning up at 6:30 in the morning at Newport for those of you who are catching the coach, and the coach will leave at 7. And all the information in there about the checkpoints, and there is also what we actually have at the checkpoints in terms of food, and there's some dietary and allergy information on there as well. Some information about GPS in case any of you want to use it. Race Drone, which is our tracking solution. You can either use that by having your mobile phone act as the tracking device by installing our app, or you can also hire a little tracking device like this which you can pick up from us on the day and give back afterwards. Beyond that, the most important thing in here is this last piece, which is the navigation tips, or more importantly actually the route description. So this is only over 3 pages, so you need to print a copy and bring this with you. It'll be significantly easier to find your way with this, which it's the first time we've used this route description in this direction, so hopefully it is all okay. I spent early January this year as a special birthday treat, walking the route in reverse to record the route description. So I recorded this onto my phone and then I've typed it up. So I have been through it and checked it a couple of times on paper, and hopefully it'll work in anger when you actually come to use it on the day. I'm sure it will do. And finally, there's just a little bit of information about who we have to thank, including some of the Staffordshire County Council and Canal River Trust and various other people, and the Sustrans Rangers, all of you who give us permission to use various parts of the course. And finally, if you do enjoy this event, remember we organise quite a few events throughout the year. The next ones after April is the Apocalypse 50, really popular event, that one, and later in the year we've got some longer events like Deadwater and King Offa's Dyke and various others. So do make sure you come back and do another Beyond Marathon event if you enjoy this one. Okay, now let me take you on a bit of a tour of the course. So you can see here this red line is the course, and we've got the start and the finish. I'm first of all going to take you to the finish line, which is where most of you, but not all, are going to register at 6:30 in the morning, and we are registering at the Cozy Hall in Newport. Hopefully you can see from here there's a small car park that's this probably fits about 15 or 20 cars in there, and there's another one here which fits a similar amount, probably a few more cars in that particular car park. There is some additional parking elsewhere in the town, and also there's some over at the supermarket, but you'll have to check. I think you may have to pay, or you might have a certain limit on the supermarket, so you're best advised to park on one of these or find some other parking elsewhere there. There's all sorts of road parking you can use all the way down here. So let me just show you what the Cozy Hall looks like. I think if we zoom right the way in, I can zoom into Street View. If it keeps going and going and going, does it let me do this? I don't know. We're about to find out. No, I don't think it does. Let me see if I can figure out how. Okay, I've flipped over to Google Maps, so hopefully I can show you the Cozy Hall from the outside, just so you know what you're looking for when we zoom in. That isn't it. That's the opposite side of the road. Okay, so this is the Cozy Hall here. This is the entrance into it. This right here. Yeah, so this is the Cozy Hall. This is where you're going to come. Sorry, this one here is where you're going to come and register. It's all kind of the same building, but you're probably going to go in this entrance there. Please don't use the car parks owned by the pub, so use this one, as I've mentioned there. And there's also one a little bit further down the road on Water Lane as well. Okay, let me zoom back into to Google Earth. Okay, right, let's just drop down there. Okay, so this is where the coach is going to collect us, and then it's going to take almost an hour to work its way over to Burton-on-Trent, which is where there's another 20 or 30 people who are going to meet us at Shobnall Leisure Complex. Shobnall Leisure Complex, you will be able to register from... well, the coach is going to arrive there about 8 o'clock. If you want to arrive there just before, you can do. There will be a few people there, but I'm not going to arrive until the coach does, which is just probably just after 8 o'clock. But please go in. We have effectively hired a room in there for a couple of hours, and you can go and sit if you want to, and you can go and have go and use the toilets, etc. When the coach arrives, the coach will park in the car park here. So those who do arrive by coach, make your way through, use the toilets, and I will then come and meet everyone who's coming to this point to register, while those from Newport go and use the loo. And then about 8:15, I will probably inflate the start line here. We can't put the finish line up, as you've probably just seen from the screenshot of the Cozy Hall, because it's in the middle of the town centre. So as a result, I will probably inflate the line to act as a start line instead, because a lot of you tend to like photos. So it's a nice place to put the start line up just here. So once you've started, I'll then give you a quick run through the route. The route description is going to be very, very useful. Please download the map pack, which is online on the routes page of the website. There is a version for the Millennium Way and a version for the Millennium Way Back, which is obviously the opposite direction. And there's also a link to a Garmin Connect version if you've got a Garmin device. There's a very, very low resolution PDF with some numbers for the route description placed upon it, so you won't be able to use that, print it out and use that to navigate, because it's very, very poor resolution, deliberately so, because it's a licensed product. The copyright is, you'll see on the top, is from Ordnance Survey. But there is a very, very low res version which you can download. It's both an east and a west that covers both the entire map, and that is kind of useful for marking up your own map if you are bringing one. So you're going to run right the way down the drive to the end of the road, and then turn left. You're only going to run for a couple of 100 meters, then you'll go over a bridge that crosses the canal, and basically you're going to be joining the canal. You'll see a little path down here, so you'll join that path, and then you're going to be on that canal for about 11 kilometers in total. You're going to run right the way down. You're going to cross the bridge on 2 occasions. From memory, I think they're just here and here. You can see just where we cross there, and back the other side. I believe it's bridges 35 and 36. It's blatantly obvious. The towpath just doesn't continue that side, so you're forced to cross the river. So after about 9.5 or 10 kilometers, you will cross the canal side once more, and this is when you're at Witchner Bridges, and then you will see that the canal veers away from the A38, which you've pretty much been running alongside right the way down from Burton-on-Trent. So for the next kilometre, you run along the canal, and you'll start to cross a series of very small little bridges. You can just about see one of them there, little narrow metal bridges. After you've gone over about half a dozen of them, you then come to this location where you see one huge one which spans across this little island in the middle of the river, and that is your cue to leave the river at that point in time. There's a little bench next to it, and I think there's a little orange way mark there. So what you're then going to do is basically head straight across these fields. Now, in the day, this is actually quite not too difficult to find your way, but broadly speaking, you can see the angle that you're taking. It's more or less one continuous angle for about 350 meters across these fields. You then switch sides very quickly, and shortly afterwards you head into this little woods here. And that ultimately leads you down into Witchner Golf Course. You kind of emerge at the golf course at this point here. Please don't wander across the green, it kind of winds the golfers up. So just keep to the public footpath which skirts around here to the left, and then you'll emerge at the gates of Witchner Country Golf Club. You'll head along this road. There is a sign there that something like private road, don't pass. That's applicable to vehicles, not to people, because you'll see when you get to this point there is a finger post buried in the hedge there, which is pointing down in this direction. So you skirt down across this field, very briefly enter this woods, and then exit it again, cross a couple of stiles, and then you head through this little wooden area. There's a little wooden plinth somewhere around here. It's like an observation deck. I don't know if it's bird watching or something along those lines. And then you'll exit via another stile and shoot across this field up to a pylon. I think hopefully you can just about see the pylon there. Yeah. So when you hit that pylon, you turn left and head along to Little Country Lane, a very brief right then left, and then you're continuing to head across all of these fields. Again, it's a fairly well maintained path, stiles in between each one of the field boundaries, and ultimately you will find your way, you'll emerge onto the main road by a little black and white house here into Yoxall. This is the Crown Inn pub there. So you turn left and then right into Ferrers Road, and Ferrers Road bends round to the right, and actually this is also Ferrers Road, but you do actually have to take a conscious left turn to remain on Ferrers Road at that point in time. So you continue right to the very end of the road, and this is Ferrers Field, which is a playing field, kids swings, and there's some goalposts here. So you'll visit checkpoint 1 at this point in time, and once you've had some refreshment at that, you'll head towards the goalposts in the end, and then follow the path which makes its way out onto the little lane just after Yoxall, where you head down the lane very briefly and then back onto the public right-of-way. Make sure you're looking out for the red and white Millennium Way waymarks, and do note the direction that those waymarks are tilted, because they will tell you which way to go. You're going to head across this field for about 250 meters, and there's a little fence post, a finger post in the corner, where you'll turn left and go back and join this road. You'll then turn right, and you go along only for about 100, maybe 125 meters, and then turn left, and you actually descend a little hill at this point on an enclosed track. By enclosed track I mean that there are kind of a hedge either side of you. You can just about see here this area is prone to getting overgrown in kind of winter time, but it should be fine because it's recently been cut. So you'll head right the way along the enclosed track, hopping over a stile at this point, so where it turns very, very sharp left, you actually leave and continue straight ahead, and then make your way across all of these fields, as you can see here, and ultimately you will end up coming across, let me see if I can find it. Okay, there's very often at this point in time a little electric fence at ankle height just before you cross this footbridge, so be a little bit careful with that. Once you've crossed that footbridge, you turn left and make your way across here. This is Bancroft Farm, which looks really run down. Half of it's fallen to pieces, as you can probably see from the satellite image here. Basically just continue along, passing the farm on the left hand side, so you get to a great big, I think it's an oak tree from memory. You cut through the hedge by the oak tree, and then continue more or less in the same direction, veering slightly left to join this track here. Then you'll cut through go over a little bridge, and then this is a very large, quite a scary looking sluicey type bridge over over the River Blythe, I think it is here. This field in the winter time, early spring, can usually be very, very waterlogged. It was certainly waterlogged in March. It wasn't waterlogged in January. I'm hoping it might have dried out by the time you get to it. So all you do once you cross that is, easiest thing to do is more or less head straight for this hedge line and handrail along it until you reach the stile, which in between here is often pretty wet as well. So you will then head right the way along the single footpath until you join the farm track and get to the road. Very, very brief left then right, as you can see, and then you continue to the end of the road, which forces you to turn left at the end past this cottage. And you go about halfway along, and there is a broken gate just here. There is actually a public right-of-way somewhere over there, but they've kind of bricked it all up almost. But this is still a public right-of-way anyway. And then you turn right. You cross a ditch at this point in time and go a few hundred metres, about 400 metres straight the way across into the middle of this field. No, you're not going into the corner, it is the middle. And then you continue straight across the next one, and you'll go through a 5-bar metal gate. There are 7-bar metal gates there. You can just about see the gate, I think. And then almost immediately there's another gate which is at a right angle to it. You go through that gate and then turn left. So you're effectively maintaining the same direction you're travelling in, but you're now going to be doing it with a hedge on your left hand side. You go straight to the very, very end. Previously, the footpath used to veer up to the wall here and then cut back down. However, a few weeks ago in 2017, the council put a brand new kissing gate right in the corner here. So there's a new kissing gate there, which leads you beside the old church, which is now a theatre, and emerges into the small little village of Pipe Ridware, where you actually want to go straight on. In order to do that, you do kind of do a very brief little left then right. You go straight along for 350 metres to the path fork here, and then you'll see a wooden finger post which points you straight across these fields. So you scoot straight across these fields over the ditch, more or less straight across the little lane here, and on across the field to the road, a little road again here. You're only on this road very briefly, and then you're back onto footpath. As you can see it's quite well defined there. That cuts straight the way through to the corner of an enclosure. You don't go into this enclosure here. There is a gate, but ignore it. Just go straight the way down to the road. And you follow this road right the way down past the old church, which is here, which is there, and then you take this left fork. I think the house is called the Bothy from memory, and then you go along into the corner. You will see a little stile at this point in time here. You're not going over that stile. You're just continuing along and taking a sharp left, which leads you over a little concrete bridge. The stile you'll see here somewhere, but you turn left over a concrete bridge and then into this field. At that point in time, you'll be heading towards the train line. Here you can see the train line. You go straight the way across. You cross a nice big wide bridge over the River Trent, which is there. And then you'll go under the train line through the tunnel and emerge onto the Trent and Mersey Canal and turn right, and you're going to be on that canal for a long time, the next foreseeable future. So you're going to follow this canal, and if I zoom out, you can see you're on the outskirts of Armitage there, and then this takes you into Rugeley. So you're going to follow canal right the way through into Rugeley. And at one point in time it does take a very sharp right, but you don't have to make any change to your directions there. At this point in time is the only time that you have to make a change, so you'll be running along this side of the canal and you'll be forced to take a left hand turn. If you're keeping count, this is bridge number 68. So you cross over bridge number 68, then continue along the canal. This time the canal is on your right, and you'll follow that all the way to checkpoint number 2, which is at Walsley Bridge. If any of your supporters are coming along, just bear in mind this is a really, really busy road. there's nowhere decent to park. You can park a few cars on the grass verge here, and beyond that, maybe you can ask nicely if you can park on the Wesleyan pub, but I certainly haven't asked them permission. I don't want to use up their car parking spaces, so you might want to take your chances parking in the side road. I wouldn't advise taking small children because it's a really, really busy road, very, very fast and dangerous, so be very, very careful if your supporters are crossing this. There's a little path down here to the towpath where we'll have a gazebo and the tent will be set up all here. Continue along the canal for a few more kilometers, and you'll then start to come up to the place where you do a bit of a U-shape. So this area here is the Shugborough Estate, i.e. the National Trust Shugborough Hall, which you can probably just about see the posh little hall in there somewhere. So you do have to make a positive change at this point in time. Once you get to Hayward Junction, which is here, let me zoom right in to give you a decent idea of what to expect. You're running along and you'll see a very, very steep cobbly bridge, which is this one here, and it's very, very tempting just to run over it because that's the path that you're on. You don't. Instead, you run to the right of that cobbly bridge and you go underneath it and then turn left, and that will then keep you on the right canal, and you'll continue then right the way along to Milford Bridge, which I think is bridge number 105 from memory, and at that point in time you will swap sides and continue on again and stay on it again for the next good few kilometers right the way into towards Stafford. So let me zoom into where I want to go, which I think is here somewhere. Yeah, okay, so you leave the canal at St Thomas Bridge, and that's bridge number 101. So you go up a few steps here, down the road, cross the road. This road is actually quite busy, so be careful when you do cross that. Cross the road over a stile, and then you're going to be heading straight away across the field towards a little concrete bridge. You'll more than likely pick up a little wire fence which now exists across here. Handrail along that, cross over the concrete bridge and turn left, and then you'll head towards another very almost kind of tall bridge. You have to go up the steps, concrete steps, go across a metal bridge, and then down the other side. It goes over some pipes, and then after that you're alongside the River Sow. This was underwater in winter, or can be very, very deep and muddy and nasty. Again, hopefully by April it'll be dry as a bone, much as it was when I wrecked it in January. But do be aware that there is potential for it to be wet. If it is, and I find out on the week before, what I'll likely do is basically direct you down here, which is basically you'll stay on the canal right the way down to this point, and then you'll turn right and join this cycle path, and this cycle path takes you right the way through by GC Ulstrom, which is here, and you'll rejoin the route at that point in time. Anyway, let's assume you were on the original route, which I think we probably will because it will be dry. You'll stay alongside the River Sow, go through a brand new kissing gate at this point in time, cross the road carefully, turn right and then left, and you will then be on cycle track 55, which leads you for 500 metres right the way into Stafford Town Centre. And you'll emerge here, which is opposite the I think it's the Bengal Lounge Indian restaurant, and there's the Wetherspoons Picture House pub there as well. So you turn right for just 25 metres and the whole of Stafford Town Centre is up there. But after 25 metres you're going to turn left and head along until you reach the zebra crossing. As soon as you've gone past the zebra crossing, you fork left into Victoria Park, which is this area here. You just head along the footpath and then cross over this nice white bridge which is there, and then you turn left and continue to follow the River Sow. You go underneath the bridge, and then about 150 metres later the easiest way to exit is here. So you turn left and you will emerge opposite Peel Street. This is Peel Street here, but we are going to, it doesn't really make any difference, but it's slightly quicker just to turn right along South Street, go to the end, there's a stop sign there, and then turn left and you're on Castle Street. Follow that to the very, very end, over the railway bridge. You can see the railway there. And then there's 4 yellow metal bollards which stop cars going any further, but the cycle path continues right the way through, and emerges onto the road here at Castletown. So you then turn right and follow it for 800 meters, crossing a roundabout just towards the end, until you reach checkpoint 3, which will be located here. So all of your supporters, this is the best checkpoint to come and find you at, because there's lots of car parking, lots of space for the kind of kids and pets to run around. So I would recommend coming there if someone wants to see you, more so than any other checkpoint. Once you visited checkpoint 3, you will then cut through this little gap on a farm track and start to head along cycle route 55. One small gotcha to look out for is it's quite easy just to continue running along that farm track, and as you can see, it disappears off and ultimately ends up in somebody's farm, which you don't want to do. So after a few hundred meters, keep an eye out on the right and you'll see a nicely newly dressed cycle path. So you have to cut through very briefly and then turn left to remain on cycle route 55, which will basically take you all the way to Newport. So it's about 11 miles from that point inwards. The only thing of note is when you get to Nosal, you'll actually have to cross the road. So you'll emerge by a zebra crossing, cross over the zebra crossing, turn left, head down the road, and you'll see the little blue signs for cycle route 55. It'll take you back through and you'll rejoin cycle route 55 again, and continue to follow that right the way down through to the outskirts of Newport. You will head to the roundabout and turn right on, I think it's the A518 from memory, towards Telford, and then you turn right onto Audley Avenue, and it'll be signposted Audley Avenue Estate. There's a Focus DIY here and one of those country stores that sells country things like Barber jackets and all that kind of malarkey. There's one of those there, and then just basically follow that around right the way to past a little school here, right the way to this isn't the end of the road anymore, this is an old satellite image. This road actually continues on and there are some new build houses here, but basically you come along until you see a no entry sign, and that takes you into Audley Park, a little cul-de-sac. So you want to turn right at this point in time, which is Audley Road, and after about 150 meters fork left, which is also called Audley Road. Kind of this bit is Audley Road, but you do have to actually take that left fork and not continue. So you continue right the way to the along past Waitrose here, past this is the where we start for the Millennium Way, which is the bus station. So you go right the way past that and you'll come to a set of traffic lights here. Again, busy road this, cross with care onto Water Lane and then run a few hundred metres along the road to finish at the Cosy Hall. A few things of note when you come in, make sure you we'll usually have some mats down to remove your shoes just in case it's muddy, and we just want to keep the floors nice for them there. And also, unlike Shobnall Leisure Complex, the other end, there are not any showers at the at this location, the Cosy Hall. There are some toilets and some disabled toilets, etc. So you can obviously clean up in those, but you bring a towel if you want to, but there aren't any showers, just bear that in mind. And I'll set up the finish line over the threshold of the door when you come in, so you'll hear a little bleep as you come in through the door. You'll then come in and hand over your tracking device. If you've hired a Raystone tracker, you'll hand over your RFID tag, which is probably going to be worn on your leg or your wrist. I'll let you decide which. And then you'll come in and get some food from us. We'll have probably some pasties, maybe some jacket potatoes or something along those lines, as well as lots of tea, cake and coffee. And that is basically the entire route. Remember that all the people you're going to see who are helping you at checkpoints are all volunteers that help us out on our events. So if you want to volunteer, or someone you know wants to volunteer, we'd love to hear from you. We're always after some more volunteers, and everyone that helps us earns a free place on a future event, and that basically is to the value of about £50. So that covers more or less all of our events, with the exception of the long multi-day events, like the 4 and 6 day events. But other than that, you get a free spot to any of our one-day events for helping out, with our thanks. So there you go, that is the entire course. I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to seeing you at the Millennium Way Back in April. Thank you.